This week on Dumb Pitches, my guest is Andrew Frank, former fundamentalist church member turned stand-up comedian. However, he did start stand-up when he was 14 and still in the church. So we have plenty to talk about the ideas that he had during that time and when you first start stand-up as, a 14-year-old. It's very interesting. It's hilarious. Here we go. Dumb Pitches.
What a bunch of dumb pitches. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to another episode of Dumb Pitches with Monica Nevi. I'm Monica Nevi, your host. This is the show where we talk to successful people about their worst ideas. I'm so excited for our guest this week. You can see him already. It's Andrew Frank.
Hello.
Andrew Frank is here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thanks for being here. I'm excited. And you brought your own LaCroix. We are not sponsored by them, so don't worry about it. We always like to start the show by giving people your good ideas so they know you haven't only had bad ideas. So we like to say you have some credits, you've done some stuff, you know? Andrew Frank is a very hilarious comedian. If you've never seen him live, please go do so. But you were a semifinalist in both the Seattle and the San Francisco International Comedy Competitions, which is a month-long competition. It's a lot. It's very impressive.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah. You have been to the Edinburgh festival where you do a whole, a show of yourself for a whole hour. Did you go for the whole month?
Yeah, it's like 25 days in a row.
You just do all the month-long things, apparently. You also teach a stand-up class at Laughs Comedy Club.
Yeah. That's a 5-week course.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
If you're interested,
check
it out. And then also you can see him live this weekend at Laughs Comedy Club headlining.
Yeah.
So
4 shows.
4 shows.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Okay, so we know that you successful.
Yeah.
Great comic. But
Yeah.
that's not what we're here
Thank
to
you.
talk about.
I was going to say, just for a second here, anytime I come on a podcast that's in like a room like this, and we've got the headphones in this, it always feels like I'm going to like space or so, or like scuba diving. It really feels like.
And then we have the lights behind too, which is, that's pretty.
It's such a surreal experience.
Scuba diving, that's an
Because
interesting one.
I talk to people, but I don't ever do it with this and this and this.
Is it a good feeling?
I like
or is
it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's funny because I've started to have a weird thing with my ears. Where like if they're covered or plugged or something, I feel like I can't breathe.
Oh.
But that doesn't make any sense because I don't breathe out of my ears. I don't know about you, but
yeah.
So like if
I like headphones. I like kind of feeling like enveloped.
Yeah.
You know? Like I was telling you before we started, I took that train ride from Peoria, and even like the whole time I had headphones on, even if I wasn't listening to anything, I just was like.
I do that sometimes. Yeah. I did that yesterday in a coffee shop just because it was too loud.
Yeah, and it tells people like, hey, don't come talk to me.
I wanted to do a video of like when your phone's dead, but you don't want people to talk to you on the bus, where you just like put the cord into your pocket instead of plugged into anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Man, that reminded me of something else though. Oh, when I run, I listen to music or whatever. And then if I feel like when I'm done, if I really can't breathe, then I have to take the headphones out for some reason. Like that's going to help me.
It's going to help you get the oxygen in.
Yeah. Or like I've tried to wear earplugs because, as a stand-up comedian, you end up either staying or living with other comics.
Yeah,
and I had a couple of very snory roommates.
Oh, yeah.
So I tried to wear, and the same thing, I'd wake up and feel like I couldn't breathe.
What's the most amount of roommates you've had at once?
I think just 2. Yeah, I think just 2.
Oh.
Sorry.
I lived with like 14 people in Chicago. I moved from St. Louis to Chicago, and this relates to the theme.
Like a questionable idea.
Relates to the theme of the podcast. But I didn't have any money, and I found an Airbnb that was basically a hostel, and it was $300 a month that you could do with a credit card.
Yeah.
And I wasn't making any money, so I just but yeah, I had there were like bunk beds that were like four beds high. With like curtains.
That is like boarding school.
We were all in the same room. It was wild.
Wow. No, I think I've only because in college when I moved out of the dorms into an apartment with 2 of my teammates because I played basketball in college. There was only 2 of them, and then in LA, I had 2 roommates in a 3-bedroom apartment as well. But when I first got there, I did have a roommate in a studio.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
I didn't sleep for 3 months basically.
Yeah.
But
Can you relate to this? I also play basketball, and I love the game, but I think I liked this sort of traveling and the eating meals with the team the most. And I feel like that's like, because I wanted to be like a professional basketball player. I think when you're young, you want to do that stuff.
Right, yeah.
But I think I just wanted to like travel around and be with my friends and stuff. And that's what comedy has been for me.
interesting, because I have I guess it's a similar but the opposite feeling in that I loved basketball for the team. I mean, I loved the game anyways, I still do, but for the team aspect of it, and that feeling, like especially in college, you were a family. Even if you didn't get along, like you had to have that other person's back. I mean, we had fist fights in practice, but if there was a fight during a game, like it was us against them. It wasn't
fist fights.
Well,
Wow, is that for real?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's an intense.
The most we
it's
ever
an
had.
intense time.
I pushed a teammate one time because we were like scrimmaging and the coach wasn't around, so it was just the players, and we were best friends. And when I went up for, I like beat him. I went around him and I went up for a layup, and he jokingly like slapped me in the face like as a
foul.
joke,
Yeah.
and I lost my mind. Like I was so upset.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. I mean, it's not that funny, but it is funny. So, but I feel like, I guess the traveling and it was a lot easier when we traveled, in college, because somebody else did all of that for us and picked where our meals were and all that stuff. So that was easier, but I don't feel the same kind of like team that I did with comedy.
But
there's
it
a few
it
people.
should be that
It
way.
should, and I would love for it to get back to that, but there's so much, not saying that when you're on a basketball team, especially Division I college basketball, it's not competitive within the team. You're you want to be the starter or whatever. But there's a little bit less of a all the ships rise, we're only as weak as our weakest link type of thing in comedy. And maybe that's just my personality and I've created that environment around myself, but I miss that part of it.
Yeah. No, I get that. Cool.
All right. So we've dabbled a little bit. You clearly lived with too many people in
Yeah.
Chicago. But when I gave you kind of the criteria of the bad ideas, what
Sure.
did you come up with?
I thought about it a lot, and it was like, I mean, I think a lot of it is when I was younger.
Perfect.
And a lot of it is just like, I don't know. It's funny because I don't really regret much. If I were to think about my mistakes, it would be like, I've been pretty reckless with my like artistic career because I have done things that have lost me a lot of money, but I haven't cared. Like,
Right.
That's not why I did it.
That's the only upsetting part of that is if you care.
Yeah. And so I'm fine. And like, honestly, like money comes and goes. But experience and developing skills and an act and like, friendships and relationships with all these clubs and these places, like that sticks around. So I don't regret.
Can we very briefly give your background, because you talk about it a lot on stage, and if the people were to look you up on social media, they would find it as well. But you're former fundamentalist.
Yes. I grew up in a fundamentalist church in Missouri. My dad was the pastor of the church. I went to a very evangelical school from 2nd grade to 12th grade. I started stand-up when I was 14. Graduated from high school and started, touring and living in my car and, started working at a club in St. Louis and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the rough outline. I was thinking when you sent me the message about what the show was, about some things when I was a kid. Because I knew I wanted to be a stand-up. Even before I started, I knew I wanted to be it when I was 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, 14's pretty young.
And
actually make the decision.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I remember we went to some leadership conference that it was some Christian leadership thing, and it was in Washington D.C. or something, or no, maybe it was in Florida. Anyway, we went to SeaWorld that day, and then we came back for the conference, and they were like, does anyone here want to, stand in, and this was like a group of 1,000 people, right, from all over the country, and they were like, does anyone want to get up and tell us about your dreams, tell us about your career aspirations and stuff, and they were like, please take this seriously. They were like, no, don't goof around, right? So
that's my dream.
I know. So then I bombed so hard. I stood up and I said it with such a straight face. I was like, I've really been thinking a lot, and SeaWorld inspired me so much. When I grow up, I want to be Shamu. And then like no one got it as a joke or anything. It was just silence. And then I was like, no, all jokes aside, I really want to be a stand-up comedian.
No.
Yeah.
And
And
like,
well,
good
it was
luck.
so awkward.
Wait, how old were you that time?
Probably 12,
12?
13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I
Yeah.
want to be Shamu.
Yeah. I want to be Shamu. Yeah. And then like, all the sort of adults in my life, like they kind of saw that dream and they saw that I wanted to be a comedian. And then they kind of tried to get me to be a Christian comedian for a while.
Got
So
it. They're
they
like, if he's going to do it, we want him to do
Yeah.
it this way kind of thing.
So they were always like giving me, Christian joke books or like, Christian DVDs of stand-ups.
There's Christian joke books?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
And there's like a whole sort of subculture of Christian stand-up comedy.
I was going to say, I knew there was kind of like a circuit of comics that maybe we aren't familiar with that
Yeah.
seem to do a lot of, I don't know if it's churches or whatever, but a lot of in the Christian circuit.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that really helped me was my basketball coaches were best friends with this guy who kind of went on to be the most famous Christian comedian, Tim Hawkins. He's like basically like Weird Al for Christians.
Okay.
And he's really good. He's like really talented. He does lots of parodies of worship songs and stuff like
funny.
that. And so I got to open for him at this mega church when I was a teenager, and that was
Nice.
kind of cool. But like seeing him, like just made me realize that like this is a job that people can do. It's not just something that's on TV. It's not something
Right.
like it.
Yeah.
It became much more realistic. That someone that I knew did this.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a good thing you made the Shamu joke, or else they would have
Yeah.
never known
yeah.
that that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. Another thing. Like I was just a pretty ambitious kid, so I did the talent show. I won the talent show at my school.
Doing stand-up?
Yes,
Okay.
doing like 10-minute act that I
Yeah,
did, and then
yeah.
I started going to the coffee house by my house and started doing a bunch of open mics, and it was like a music mic, so you could do like they gave them 3 songs.
Oh.
So I
Seems
was
like a long time.
I know. So then I was like, okay, then that means I can do 15 minutes. So then every Tuesday and Thursday I was doing 15-minute sets at this little coffee house. And then I thought I had like an hour of material.
Right, you're like, I've done 15
Yeah.
minutes.
So then
4 times,
so then
so.
I booked my high school gym and was like, I'm going to do an hour of stand up after school. And I went around lunch and sold $2 tickets to people.
Wow.
And probably like 200 people came. And it was this whole thing, and I just wasn't ready at all. I wasn't ready. I kind of goofed around a little bit. I had a couple good jokes, but I had this whole set list that I had added up. I was like, I thought this was an hour, and then I gave the set list to a friend in the bleachers, and I would just kept forgetting stuff, and then they were like, do this one, and then I would try and do it, but I mean, so much of it
Couldn't
failed.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
So that was something.
That's funny because I have that's similar. That's so interesting that like every time you're first on stage is like 1,000 people, like just these huge audiences.
Yeah.
But and I don't tell this story often because I am a little embarrassed by it. When I very first started stand up, I did my first open mic at Laughs in January, not thinking like, oh, it was a great audience, you know, because if you don't know, they call them resolution comics, but a lot of people makes it their New Year's resolution to do stand-up. So January is usually a good time to go to open mics because they bring their friends and they want people to see them. And I had done 2, and a friend of mine was like on the ASB or whatever for Utah Bothell. And they were doing a show, and he was like, oh, I can get you like 15 minutes on this show. And I was like, yeah, okay, great. I had done 2 open mics, like that was it. And but I did the same thing where I was like written down all these ones, a lot that I hadn't even ever tried, you know, and was like, yeah, this will be 15 minutes. And it was like a huge crowd. Like even like, it's funny now because I'll do colleges and I'm like, this is not even as good as that was. How did this happen? Yeah, there was like 200 people in there. My parents came. It was, and it went fine. Like it wasn't good, and I definitely didn't get to. I think I did 11 minutes, you know, whatever. But it was. I just remember talking to the headliners because there was 2 of them. It's Mal Hall and Asif Ali, who are very successful, and Asif Ali is like on TV all the time now. And I kind of told them, you know, I remember saying it because he's like, well, how long have you been doing stand-up? And I was like, I don't want to tell you. And he was like, okay. And I was like,
Couple
2
days.
weeks. Yeah. And he, kind of laughed and whatnot. But now I realize that he had only been doing stand-up for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be headlining a college, probably that it was a little accelerated for him too. So maybe he didn't think about it too much. But yeah, it's so like now it's cringy to think that I was like, yeah, I'll do that. No problem. I'll do an hour after school for everybody. Like it's just... I kind of miss that blind confidence a little bit. But.
I feel like mine is worse though, because you were asked to do something and you said yes. Everyone's put in that position where you just said yes. I went out of my way to go, I can do this, and made it happen.
It's impressive too that that many people were like, sure, yeah, I'll come watch this. I mean, $2, that's a pretty good price, but.
Yeah. You brought up parents coming to the show. That's another kind of like mistake, or maybe I didn't like approach it the same way. I don't know what expectations I had early on. And my act has really evolved over the years. My beliefs and my attitudes and the way I engage with religion and stuff has changed a lot over the years. But when I was probably 21 or 22, I had my parents come see like a co-headlining show, and they invited a bunch of our extended family, and it just didn't go well. And it really devastated me that
had they seen you before at all?
They'd seen me a couple times. Okay. They'd seen me in some like pretty like clean settings.
And this one wasn't that.
No, this one wasn't that. It was weird, and it took us years and years and years to finally get around to talking about
what happened.
Well, just it's honestly like we're still. I've been doing this for 15 years at this point, and we've. At least with my mom, I finally have started having some conversations about what I'm doing with my art, like what it means to me and what it means to all these people that interact with it. Because for the longest time, they just avoided it,
Yeah.
So
my parents have always been pretty supportive, and, our values have lined up and whatnot, I wasn't gonna be swearing and then be like, oh my gosh, we've never heard this. They've heard me swear before. So that didn't really, but I've had them bring other people, and you tell them a million times, you're like, that's fine, just don't sit in the front, please, because I want to feel comfortable and natural. And then I was in Medford, Oregon, which is where my dad's family's from, and so a bunch of them, it was like 15 of them, just all in the front row of this like bar show, and then there's like 10 other people in the room. So I couldn't really and it's like my grandfather's sister who I've probably talked to like 4 times in my life, and now she's hearing me do dick jokes, like it was.
When you have people that in the room, do you kind of scan over them?
Yes.
Because it's so weird.
I always do that.
And it kind of it messes me up sometimes, where like I'll look at all these like strangers, but I'll know that they're right there, and then I just like avert the gaze and I like skip over them for some reason.
Sometimes if it's my parents or my fiance or whatever, some of my best friends, like I definitely am like, I don't need to look at you at all. There's no reason to, unless I don't even know. And I can hear if Erin's laughing at a new one because she, whatever, she's seen everything else. But if it's people who like come up to me before or something, they're like, oh, we're here to see you, we're excited, then I like feel bad not looking at them. I feel like they're not, I don't know, like they're excited, and so sometimes then I will, and then I go, am I talking at them too long? I don't know what's happening. And then you go back to like skipping over people.
I think for me there's kind of like a shame thing where it's weird now that I'm thinking about it. It's like it's this shame that like what you're doing is fraudulent somehow, because someone who knows you and has seen you a bunch like knows the script, they know the lines. And so much of stand-up is like, the illusion of spontaneity, or the, and you're like, this person knows that I've said this 1,000 times. Yes. And, you feel like
Erin does whatever she wants at shows. Sometimes she's just hanging out somewhere. I did a similar thing, actually, to you. I mean, obviously I wasn't in school at the time, but I had probably been doing stand-up for like 6 months. And my mom was like, well, you do a fundraiser for it, because she fundraises for leukemia and lymphoma. And I was like, sure. And I did the same thing where I was like, I could do a half an hour, and I couldn't, I think I got to 23 minutes that time, but it was all people I knew. And you don't know how weird that feels until you've performed for an audience of all people, because it's that same thing where you're like, And then some of it's going to be about them at some point, or
Yeah.
or embellished, and they're like, I was there for that. That's not what happened. It went fine, but it was like, it just, those are the worst feelings I have, because people are like, do you get nervous? And yeah, of course I still get nervous, but the less people I know in the audience, the more comfortable I feel, because I'm like, I don't have to see these people again.
Yeah. The thing that's happening lately for me is that I'll, especially like after quarantine and stuff, I haven't gone back to a lot of places that I've was at a lot. So like in the past the past 6 months, I've like gone back to a lot of places that I started at, and it's been so good to see all these people that know me, and it feels really fresh, and it feels like, I don't know, like a lot has happened in these past several years, and it's cool to see friends and stuff, like especially where you like, it's so weird like when people see you like in the city that you start in, and then you go off and you do a bunch of stuff and you come back, and like they see a huge difference in you, but you like, because you're with yourself every day, you don't see how much you've changed. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that happened to me when I came back from LA. And then I was just on the road a lot, and I could feel that I was getting better, but I couldn't really tell you why, or like I couldn't tell you what was different, because a lot of the material was the same. Like I'm doing longer sets, so you're using stuff you've been doing before, and maybe they had heard it, but the pandemic itself, I actually felt good about coming back again, because I was like, oh, come see me now. Like, this is not that I think that made me better, but I had new stuff, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I do feel good going back to places after it's been a little while, because then it's like, you're going to like this new stuff here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, material's interesting, because I know like comics focus so much on the material, but I think this thing that we're talking about where you're growing on the road and having these experiences is like, your attitude and your character, like who you are, gets so much more refined, and that comes through in the material for sure. But it's like there's a different presence of confidence, and you just trust yourself more.
That's fair. I think that just my stage presence has changed like exponentially. When I started, I would like stand in one spot and just kind of say whatever I said. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
And now I pace probably too much, but I move around, and there's more.
Yeah.
Not that it's like physical, but.
Sure.
For you, because clearly when you very first started, you were talking about much different things, I would assume, than what you're talking about now. Are there people who saw you when you first, before you were even 20 or whatever, and come and see you again now, and how does that go?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, typically they like it.
You're like, it's good.
I feel like I've matured. I have deeper views on things, have like gotten rid of a lot of like really toxic views, like that's something. So that's
good. You're like, well, this is better for you anyways.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I mean, I would assume that your material when you first started, because they were hoping you were doing it for like the church community, was my guess cleaner. Not that you're like dirty or anything, but cleaner, more. Was it like church focused? I don't know.
No, I think I've always been like pretty. I've always had a spirit of anarchy. I've always tried to like, punch up. Always tried to challenge power.
Kind of question things.
Okay. And so like, when you're young, like you're just forced into these environments where like you don't have much power. There's these rigid structures, and it doesn't matter if you go to church or anything. It's like the education system is like that. Yeah. Just by virtue of being young, you like aren't afforded a lot of autonomy. So I've always made
Got it. So
stuff.
They wouldn't be surprised to see you now, and they're like, this was the path we assumed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. That's awesome. I love it. I would be, oh man, it'd be so funny to see that set list from the
I think I can remember some. It was, a lot of like early on, you're just like making jokes about like TV and movies and stuff. So like I had some Willy Wonka jokes.
Got it.
Stuff like that.
Willy Wonka.
Had a big Olive Garden bit.
Didn't we all? Yeah.
I had a big bit about like someone walking in on me while I was on the toilet or something like that. Just jokes like that.
I see.
Yeah.
That's pretty racy.
Yeah. I was the Little Caesars mascot for a little while, so that was I had like 5 minutes of material on that.
Well, we should have put that in the credits. Yeah. I didn't know that.
That was rough because people like it was like this is not okay. People 2 times pushed me into the road.
Oh my God.
Yeah, from behind. The first time I actually fell into the road and a van almost hit me. The second time I didn't fall over, and then I like chased those people. They were just like high schoolers or something.
Just as
I had to chase them, and they hopped in a car in like a parking lot, and they were driving away, and I was like still in the costume. I was like kicking their car because it was
Well, I mean,
they almost
yeah,
killed me. You know?
I'm just imagining, because that's a good visual, so I'm
Yeah.
imagining that from someone seeing that, being like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Why is the Little Caesars mascot kicking this van?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's an interesting
Yeah.
job.
There's a couple. I'm thinking back on that job, like, this so much time has gone by. I don't think I can get in trouble for this. But it was like so hot out there. It was like a ridiculous job.
Yeah.
And so the road was right here, and there was a parking lot, and then the Little Caesars was actually like part of this like strip mall thing that was like, probably like 1,000 feet away from the road. So they never really knew if I was out there or not. So I would like suit up and I go, okay, I'm going out there, and then I would like just take off the costume and put it in my car, and I would walk away, and I would like go to the library, go sit at McDonald's or something, and then every hour or so I'd come back and like get some water and be like, oh, rough one out there, and then I actually faked it for like a good amount of time.
Did you ever get caught?
No, I never got caught.
That's crazy.
That's
That's a good idea then.
Yeah.
Not that you
Anyway.
should be not doing
It was
your
it
job.
was
Whatever.
$7 an hour.
Yeah.
It was minimum wage
And it
in
was hot.
Missouri. So
And does it really help
Yeah.
more people buy pizza? I don't
No.
know. So
yeah,
uh,
there was there's another thing I almost I evaded some trouble because in Missouri you're not allowed to smoke weed, and so I was like smoking weed in my car before I went in to be Little Caesar, and a cop saw me doing it. He like and then I got out of the car and I walked into Little Caesars, and he followed me into Little Caesars, and then I just went into the back and put the costume on and walked out.
yeah, you're like, that guy left.
Yeah,
I'm
I disappeared.
Little Caesar. So.
Yeah. So
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a whole lot of stuff in that. Okay.
mhm.
Well, thank you so much for doing this show. This was great. I feel like we got so much insight in, and we always love. Well, first of all, I'm very supportive. So your bad ideas, I'm still
Thanks.
good with. But also, I feel like everything that we talked about really led you to where you are. So that's
Aw,
never
thanks.
that
Yeah.
bad of a thing.
Yeah.
But it's not that bad. That's our new slogan. It's not that bad. Tell people where they can follow you and come and see you and those types of things.
Instagram Andrew Frank Comedy _ Facebook Andrew Frank, YouTube Andrew Frank. I need to update my stuff on YouTube. So
well, look out, subscribe,
yeah.
and then you'll see.
yeah,
when
I'll put.
you do that.
I've got the whole weekend at Laughs, so I'll put some videos up after that.
Nice. Yeah, and
yeah.
check that out. So Laughs Comedy Spot in Seattle. It's in the University District, and you'll be there Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, there's a midnight show in Seattle that I have run for a long time, like 8 years, and that happens to also be on this Friday night, and it's at midnight, so you can do both if you want to do that. Or when you come to the secret show, we always have secret drop-ins. Secret.
Yeah.
And they're very fancy.
Yeah.
And
Can I
it's
say
worth going
one
to.
more thing?
Of course.
This one
yes,
is
yes.
actually a little more serious. I'm trying to think of, when you look back at, when you were young and where you're at now, like, I wish I would have, this was so inaccessible to me at the time. Like, I was in such a conservative, repressive environment, but I wish I had met a lot more queer people earlier in my life. And I think I was searching for that community for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I moved up to Seattle and found that, and it's made me so much happier to be that way and to have those friends. So don't procrastinate that. Don't postpone that. Go find those people that make you feel safe and loved. So that, I encourage anyone to go out and find your people.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes at first, when you first start talking about that or liking a community that maybe other people might judge you for, it feels scary and it feels like you shouldn't be doing it. But in your later years, you will go, I'm glad I met those people, or I'm glad I put myself out there, or I wish I had done it sooner, or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously we're biased, but the Northwest does have quite a great queer community.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Like just find the people that you can really be yourself around, and that if you notice that you're masking and you're like putting on a performance to sort of fit into these other attitudes that other people have to maintain, like, just fuck all that. Go
Yeah.
like go be yourself. because it's so much better for you and
Yeah.
for everyone else. So
Whatever's holding you back, stressing you out, fuck all that.
Yeah.
That's what we say here.
Cool.
Thank you again for
Yeah.
being here. Thanks for watching. Make sure you rate and review, subscribe, all those things. Subscribe on YouTube. But right now, you can just keep watching Dumb Pitches.
Yeah.
You're weird.
Yes.